And we are live. Hello, 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 everybody. I cannot believe it, but we are on day 3 and it is going so fast. And we are just getting so many people putting their name in the hat for the 2 giveaways. So if you are new, if you're just catching up or something like that, you know that we are doing 2 giveaways. And one is going to be for the 12-month marketing plan, and one is going to be to bend my ears and help you with something that you are struggling with. So before we get started, let's say hello to everybody. Go ahead and put here in the comments your name and where you are coming from. Let's just look here, see who we have. Oh, we have Kevin. Kevin's back from Texas, right? Awesome. And then we have, who do we have? We have Jana, and she's from New York. See, Juliana from London. Welcome. Okay, and we have Dave, and Dave is coming from Florida. Awesome. Let me check a couple of things here before we get started. Looks like audio is really good. Hey, Ryan. Ryan is from New Zealand. Oh my gosh, we get people from all over the place. This is amazing. I'm so excited. So day 3, we are going to be talking about the part of building your business and ultimately scaling your business with your message, your messaging, your marketing, right? This is something that's so absolutely critical in marketing today. If you do not have your messaging mastered, so to speak, then you've got a serious problem. You won't really be able to convert, which we're going to be talking about in the final day, which is day 4 tomorrow. So we want to make sure that we get this part figured out first, because we have to make sure that we are speaking the message of people that are our ideal clients. And the bottom line here is that it's a pretty noisy world that we live in here, with social media being what it is, and people being online, right? So we have to stand out. We have to figure out a way to stand out. And this is also true if you're going to be doing in-person networking. If you're the type of person that really doesn't want to do the online thing, or very little of it, that's fine too. Just understand that your messaging is really just as important when you are in those one-to-one personal meetings, in a networking meeting or something like that. You need to be able to speak what it is you do in a way that is going to pique someone's curiosity, where they say, tell me more, right? This is what we want to do. So let's just check a couple of things before we get started here. All right, so we were talking about the online space being pretty noisy, right? So oftentimes our messaging, and we can even get lost online. A lot of people are trying to figure out who to choose, right? Because they have so many choices, right? We're downloading everybody else's freebies, and we're getting lost, aren't we, right? And it's really important for us to make sure that we help people. We actually guide them along the way into the sale. And this is what's really important. So our messaging is something that helps them with that. And your messaging can be something as simple as your stories that you're putting on Instagram, letting people know what's next, what to do next, all the things that you have going on, right? This is really important. So a lot of times when we're talking to people about messaging, there's a lot of things that come up for them. They have a lot of blocks about not being knowledgeable enough is one, feeling like they're not good enough, fear that they can't actually do the work, fear that they're not able to change, fear that their clients can't actually change, and believe it or not, even fear around money, fear around charging. I had that one. That one was a really big one for me. Actually, I think I had all of them once upon a time. Then I was wondering why I wasn't making any money, because I had all of these blocks around what I was capable of doing, and what my clients were capable of doing, whether I was able to provide a transformation, whether there was any value at all to what I was doing. There was so much fear with getting out there, being visible online. And, soon after, doing it for so many years, you definitely get comfortable doing it. But all of this just, these fears, they just pushes us down. It keeps us down. And it makes us play a very, very small game. And I don't want that for you. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to clear our blocks. And that's really important for you, thinking about some of the things maybe I've mentioned here. What thoughts do you have around what you do in your business? What thoughts do you have around transformation that you're providing? So these are really great questions. What thoughts do you have around being visible online? We need to know this. We have to identify them before we can actually move on, right? This is really important. What benefits of lifestyle change might you have with blocks? We think about blocks. Oftentimes, what we have to do is we have to decide that what we want is more important than the pain that we're experiencing. We have to make it so painful to not make money that we are willing to do anything to stay out of that state and move into something different and actually do some different steps. So we have to be able to remove those blocks. And now what you need to do is you actually have to find your superpower. We have to identify your superpower, the zone of genius, maybe it's your brilliance, whatever it is. Sometimes what I see a lot online is people simply copying other people. And I really don't want to see that happen for you. I want you to be able to be someone who is unique. And let me say this just really quick. It's all been said before. It's all been done before. And there really isn't a whole lot that, is unique. I know what I'm teaching has been taught before. The thing is that it's you that's different. It's me that's different. It's my personality. It's your personality. Some people just vibe differently. Sometimes they've heard it a couple of times, but for whatever reason, the way that you say it is what someone needs to hear, right? So, modeling is one thing, and I love modeling, especially like when you're thinking about creating content, curating content. It's all been said. We think about some of the greatest leaders out there of all time. You could say, Tony Robbins is copying Jim Rohn, right? But he's not. That he was his teacher. So he models after him, and so he has learned a lot from him being his teacher. So copying is not empowering, right? But having someone that you can model after, that really feels good, because then we know, for example, it's been done before. People are buying into their messaging, and this is something that we can really connect with. But what we want to do is we want to just find out what our superpower is. Are you ready to actually leverage your superpower? This is what we need to do. And this is what messaging is. And are you ready to actually get paid to do what just naturally comes to you? This is really just talking about making money, just being you. So we have to absolutely get clear on your niche, your client's pain. We absolutely have to get clear on what you want to focus on in your business, how many clients you need, and that kind of thing. And the reason why we need to know that with messaging is so that you can be out there being visible enough times. So let me check a couple of things here. Okay, looks good. Looks like everybody's online. Looks like we've got a couple of people still joining us. Hello, it's so good to have you here. Hi, Ryan. Okay, Ryan says, wow, yeah, this is true. I have a lot of blocks. Oh, I appreciate that. I know we all do. It's something that we all do. So just hang in there. So the thing that we want to do is we want to be able to figure out what our value is. When we figure out what our actual value is, this is something that's going to help us with our messaging. So, like teaching people their messaging, teaching people to be visible online. What is the value of that, for example? And it's really about being able to attract new clients to them. So there's a lot of value in that because you've got to get people on the phone. So I can teach you how to do that. So what is your superpower? What is the value of that? So that's something that we all need to figure out. Let me check something here. All right. Okay, good. So what we want to do now is we want to be able to uncover your audience. So when we're talking about uncovering your audience, this is something that really just means that we have done that market research that we were talking about before. So you have to know what it is they need from you. This is really important. If you don't know what your audience needs from you, how are you going to be able to create content and messaging around what it is they need? Oh, I have an itchy nose. So you want to remind yourself all the time that your message needs to be heard. And we have to go back to those blocks that we were talking about before, like what Ryan is dealing with. We have to constantly be reminding ourselves that our message needs to be heard. We were talking about, if you had the cure for cancer, that you would get your word out there. You would be shameless about it. You would do whatever it took to get your message out there. And this is what we have to do. It's absolutely critical that we understand that even though some people don't respond, don't interact with your content, that there's people out there who need to hear it. So kind of think about you and your clients. Were you ever like your clients? Were you ever in their shoes? And this is really golden when you're thinking about creating your content. Generally speaking, we are our ideal client. We have been, or we're going to be. So we can use those three things, the us of our past, the us of us right now, what we're struggling with. You could essentially do the learn, do, teach method, which is you're struggling with something, you learn it, and then you practice it, and then you turn around and teach it. So that's someone, you're just a little step ahead of them, right? So then you're able to get that message out there for them versus, someone who you're going to be. Maybe you're working with millionaires, the eventual millionaire. I love that because that's something that you're striving for, and you can talk about your journey. Everyone wants to hear your journey. This is absolutely critical when we're thinking about our messaging. So your messaging has to have the 3 P's in it. We're going to get into that. So what are the 3 P's? And let me know if anybody knows what the 3 P's are. Let's see. Purpose, people, passion. Okay. Well, we're getting there. I like that. Good tries. So the 3 P's, we're talking about creating and crafting your marketing message. So now understand that when you know what your value is, this is something that's going to be so helpful for you when you're creating like call to actions, for example, because you know that what you have is very valuable. So I want you to be thinking about that. But we're thinking about the 3 P's. So the first P is the person. When we're crafting our content, so that could be a Facebook post, Instagram, LinkedIn, we want to be able to talk to the dream client. So you're going to use the word you a lot, and you're going to use whoever they are. So I speak to entrepreneurs, I speak to service-based entrepreneurs, I speak to spiritual entrepreneurs, I speak to life coaches, I speak to contractors. So we want to be able to use that verbiage in our messaging. That's the first part of it. And then the second part is the pain. So we want to be able to talk about their pain. So we were talking about PASS, right? So just to remind you of PASS, it is their pain and agitate and solution, right? So we're incorporating all of those things into our messaging. So we have our person, we identify them by name, and I don't mean like Susie. we want to be able to identify who they are as a professional, or maybe they're a mom, or they're an anxious person, or somebody, they're a spouse whose spouse had an affair, something like this. We're talking to these people. And then we're talking about their pain. We're going to agitate their pain so that they know that we're the person that can solve their problem. We're the person that totally understands it, either because we've been there or because we've got the experience with our clients. And then the third P is the pleasure. We want to be able to talk about the pleasure that they're going to seek. So we're talking about the solution. So we're integrating past and the three Ps all in one message. So you have your call to action at the end, which is really your solution and the pain. So we want them to feel the pleasure. We want them to feel into the pleasure so that they can see the solution. We've got to be able to hold that vision for people because they can't for themselves. So this is really helpful in your messaging, and this is something you can do with anything. You can do this in a sales page. You can do this in a one-on-one networking session with someone, really just practicing this. Find someone that you trust and start talking to them, start practicing your call to action, start practicing your messaging with them so that they can actually help you, and you will be able to hear yourself, whether or not you're actually covering the three Ps, whether you're covering past, your message is not a one-liner. So we are talking about a way that we can perk up someone's ears, a way that we can get someone interested in asking us for more. And that's your messaging. And what I want you to do too is I want you to come up with 10 different, maybe up to 20 different call to actions. So we're using these call to actions in everything that we do, even into our stories, right? We're thinking about our Instagram posts, we're thinking about our Facebook posts, we're thinking about our LinkedIn posts, even on your live stream videos. Maybe you're doing YouTube, maybe you're doing podcasts, anything like that. You want to make sure that you have your call to actions figured out. But if you don't know, the value, for example, then that's going to be a problem. So we have to be able to know what the value is, but more than that, what the impact of the value is. And this is really going to help you. From there, how will it change their life? Thinking about like the next year, your solution. How will your solution change your ideal client's life in the next year? How will it change their life in 2 years, in 5 years? And you can really start to believe in yourself more when you are answering these questions. I would love for you to actually journal the answers here, because it's going to be so valuable to help you create your messaging, because you know what they're struggling with, right? And you know how to agitate it, and you know what pleasure they want, you know what solution they want. Use all of that to create your call to actions, and to really be able to help them focus in on their dreams, right? We've got to be talking about results, right? What results you actually give, who you serve, all of those kinds of things. So sometimes when you're creating a sales letter, for example, you're going to need to answer some objections. The objections are, why should I invest in you, right? So I want you to think about that for a second. Why should someone invest in your product? Why should someone invest in hiring you if you're a consultant or a coach? And just take a moment to write that down. Hopefully you brought a piece of paper, pencil, something like that. Get out your notes on your PC. We need to be able to have you hone in on that. Why should they invest in you? It's a huge question. So go ahead and spend a second writing that down. Like, why you? There's a lot of other people that could do what you do, right? Why you? So just spend a second talking about that, or to answer that I'll check on a couple of things here. I love that we can take this time so you can actually write these things out. So we want to be able to think about how you're going to do it, right? So how you're going to provide the solution. What do you do? Is there some sort of technique? Is there some sort of strategy? That would be really helpful to know. Let's talk about how you can actually use all of this so that you can come up with content. What I like to do is I use a mind map. So in the center, I have my dream client, and then I branch out from there, their problems. And then with each of their problems, I can drill down into each of their problems, talking about, typically it's fear, it's their mind, it's their beliefs. And it's interesting because my clients tend to have difficulty finding clarity around who it is they want to serve, and how to go about it, and what their messaging should be, and all sorts of things that come up with creating content around fear in their mind and belief about themselves. So it's easy for me to actually drill into everything because it's all interrelated. So start thinking about your clients so that you can start coming up with different kinds of content. Remember, you can turn into a machine when you take one piece of content. Let's say that it's a blog post that you wrote. Well, let's back up, and most people aren't doing blog posts anymore. So let's say it's an Instagram post. You can take that Instagram post and then elaborate on it and turn it into a podcast, turn it into a YouTube video. You can take it and turn some of it into a challenge for your Facebook group. If you don't have one, you probably get one. So you can see that you can create lots of different pieces of content. What we want to do is we want to talk about the hook in your messaging. So remember, people have a very short attention span anymore. It used to be like 16 seconds you could hold someone's attention online back when we first started. And now we're down to about 6 seconds, which is really pretty pitiful. I think a goldfish has 5 seconds, so we're not doing too good here. But the thing is we realize that this is the way it is. It's because the online space is so crowded. So you have to get really good at your hook. That's the first sentence in your messaging. We're talking about a sales page. We're talking about the title of your YouTube video, the title of your podcast, the first sentence in your LinkedIn post, the first sentence in your Instagram post. You've got a few seconds to capture someone's attention, and you've got to have a hook. So that hook is, generally speaking, it's someone's pain. And you can get really good at it with conversation, not like a sales pitch, right? We're talking about a conversation, just like you were talking to a friend. So you want to list all the things that you help your clients with. Start to brainstorm the topics. So we won't have time to actually go through that to brainstorm the topics here, but I want you to just write that down, brainstorm topics. So you can have time when we're done here. And certainly you can rewatch the video as many times as you like. I want you to think about the categories, right, that relate to your business. What would you do, for example? That's a really good one. I love that. Think about what you want to talk about. Maybe on particular days, there's something that you feel really inspired to talk about on Mondays, for example. I like Mondays talking about motivation, inspiration, manifesting, things like that, because it's the very beginning of the week, talking about goals. I love that on Monday. So start thinking about that. I like to talk about mindset on, every day. So you can break down the topics into similar things that what I talk about, for example. And you want to set aside some time. So that's your challenge. What you're going to do is you're going to set aside some time to create an outline of topics that you can talk about. But you have to have done the market research. If you haven't done the market research, think about how similar your client is to you. this would be really helpful for you, because then you're actually in the mindset of your ideal clients. You're already there. You already know. It'd be really easy for you to start brainstorming those topics. So now what I'd like to do is actually identify what differentiates you from your competitors. So I don't want you to get all worried here, because as I said before, everything's been said. That's tough to hear, but it's true. And at the same time, it's a relief. So it's amazing how online courses and coaching, for example, digital content courses and whatnot, it's a $1 billion business. It's right up there with cosmetics. That's how much people want to learn. And yet we're all saying pretty much the same thing from each other. I mean, one life coach is going to talk about helping you find your purpose. Another one's going to be talking about your passion, when they're interrelated, right? It's how you say it. It's your personality. It's how you are willing to produce it that helps people really feel connected with you. And this is what we want to do. We want people to feel connected to us. More than likely, if you have gotten on this webinar, then you already know a lot about me. You know that I was homeless. You know that I had to start my life over again after my divorce with my 3 kids by myself. You know how my business was taking a nosedive until I was able to really hone in on my messaging and figure out how to really get sales. So the thing that we want to do is we want to be able to tell our story in a way that captures people's attention, in a way that gets people to know us. They have to like us too, right? And they have to trust us. So trust factor comes in where people have been connected with you for a while. And I've been online for 5 years this time around. I've been online since the 90s. But this time around, business is very, very different than it was back then. Google really was just getting started back in the 90s, and it was really super easy to break into online business. And today it's a little bit more of a challenge. Today we have to be really, really good at our messaging, knowing who our ideal client is, knowing what their pain is, knowing how to do some copywriting, right? Copywriting is really super easy when you learn how to agitate your dream client's problem so that you can say, I've been there, or I've helped my clients with this. That's what they want. So that's the thing, is we want to be able to really connect with our dream clients. So getting clients online really is super easy. It really is. And I don't want you to think that it's complex. You have to know how to talk to them. And hopefully you've gotten clear about your niche and your superpower by now, right? And you've gotten clear about what your audience needs from you and who your competitors are. Now, we haven't talked a lot about the competitors, mainly because I didn't really feel like it was that important at the time, but as we're talking about it, we want to know who our competitors are so that we can kind of model after them, so that we can see what they're doing. And I don't mean copying either. But what we want to do is we want to be able to reframe the word competitor. People that are doing what you do, we don't want to look at them as a competitor, because I don't believe in scarcity at all. And I don't want you to either. It's really good to be able to find a different word for that, to reframe it, right? We want to be different, but 100% different, I guess we kind of are in a way. So what I want you to do is I want you to think of 3 competitors to you. And I'm going to put my quotes up here, 3 competitors, right? Researching what they are offering, look at some of their courses, look at some of their opt-ins, look at their website, any of the packages that might have. But ask yourself this question: what's missing? What's missing from their offering? What makes you different? How can you make that different? What gap can you fill? And I think these are really great journaling questions to really help you with this, because ultimately what we want to do is we want to be able to differentiate ourselves as much as possible. As I say, it's all been said before. We're just going to try to figure out a different way of doing it. So I combine mindset and spirituality with what I do. As a business growth expert, I use my experience with my struggles. I use the stories from my own clients to be able to help. And I've come up with some really great products. I call it the Simplicity Method. And this is where it's really easy for us to be able to position ourselves and ultimately sell and overcome objections and convert better. So this is something that a lot of other entrepreneurs that are similar to me are not doing, mainly because I use a lot of mindset, because it's all about mindset. When it really comes down to it, it all is. It's a high-performing mentality is what we need to do. So now I want to talk about some of the things you might have seen out there, and that's the overnight successes, right? Or so we think. Let's check on a few things here. Gets checking. Okay, good. I don't see any. Wow, yeah. Okay, Janice says, wow, yeah, we're covering a lot of content. Yes, it's really going to be helpful for you. And I think that what you can do is to go ahead and listen to the video again, only this next time. You can stop the video and journal some of the questions, because I know I'm going through some of the questions that are really great for you to be able to journal on to help you create your messaging. So you want to think about what you want to be known for, right? What is it that you want to be known for out there in the online space, right? And this is what we're going to be talking about a lot here. But sometimes no one responds to your posts, right? And you can change that by really creating a conversation, a journey. People want to see you. Now, here is a tip, and it's worth everything. Always be in breakthrough. Always be in breakthrough. When you are creating content out there in the online space, talk about what you are doing. Talk about some of the things that you are working through, some of your goals. And people love this. Trust me, it's one of the things that will set you back if you are not willing to talk about some of your goals, even the books that you're reading. People want to know, they're really curious about it. And you'll start to see more people responding with your posts when you are sharing little things like that. This is when anyone who's interested in you, they'll become really interested in you. So you've got to put together a social media plan. So you'll see people posting and then suddenly they leave. These are some of the overnight successes, right? I don't want you to be an overnight success. I want you to be thinking about your business being in the long haul, right? This is what we're going to be thinking. And we've got to have this mentality every single time, right? We think about some of the people that are famous one month and then they're gone the next. It's because they're not being consistent. Maybe they were playing the game right, I call it a game, but they suddenly just stopped. Consistency is the name of the game. You're talking to no one if you're not really being specific, right? You need to be able to do that. So some people are talking about how they're closing their business because they can't do it. I don't want that to be you. I want you to be thinking about the long haul, right? So I want you to be switching your messaging in your own mind about how you're going to be doing all of this no matter what. It's absolutely critical that you come up with that decision in your head that you are going to be creating this business no matter what. So we were talking before about identifying the gap, right? So something that you can fill in your market, right? So we realize that the competition is doing really well. Obviously, they wouldn't be your competition, right? We talked about finding the gap if it exists, and we want to be able to differentiate ourselves. We want to be able to see what it is that we can do that's different. So start to get inside of her head. Now, we talked about market research before, and a lot of people are afraid of market research. This is a different kind of research, knowing your competitor. Try to get inside of her head, right? We want to feel like we are connected with them, right? We want to be able to start speaking the language that our dream clients need to hear, because this is what's going to help us to stand out, because ultimately this is what's missing, right? You've got to share your story. Sometimes you can perk someone's interest by asking a question. This is a really great way to start conversation, to get them engaged with you. And I love that with your marketing. So we want to be able to see what the outcome of the audience wants to hear from you. So just ask yourself, what is the outcome that your audience wants? What sort of result do they want? Okay, this is where you can start talking about this. Use that as your hook. We were talking about that hook earlier that's going to capture their attention. So ask yourself, what is the result that your audience wants? And this is for your posts, your videos, your blogs, your images, everything. So you're going to lead with the how you help, right? So this is the solution, leading with the solution versus leading with the results, right? So there are lots of different ways to do this. So we can talk about the tangible results, for example. Do they want more clarity? Maybe you're a life coach. Do they want more passion? Do they want more money? Do they want more free time? So just start thinking about what results they want, right? This is going to be really helpful for you when you're creating your messaging. So now identify the intangible results that you provide. So think of something like they will feel more happiness, they'll feel more confident, maybe they're going to have more fun. So it's just time to switch to your commitment and your focus. This is what's really going to help you create your messaging. So you've got to really be committed to doing this, because it's going to take you some time to really refine and master your message. Remember, it's not a one-liner. This is something it's a conversation. You absolutely have to know what it is your clients are dealing with before you can actually start talking about it, right? So let's see a couple of things here. All right. And I see some people wanting to know about video marketing. So the thing is video marketing is really not all that different. You have a few seconds really to capture their attention. So you can ask questions. This is the way I like to start my videos, is asking questions. So asking questions about their struggle. So are you struggling with not having enough money in your bank account? You know, that would be a really good question. And they'd be like, yeah, I am kind of struggling with that. And, you know, maybe you're a financial coach, right? So this is something that you can use, you know, as a tactic in your messaging, right? Asking questions. So you can use that in your video marketing. You can use that in your social media posts, your sales page, your opt-ins. It doesn't really matter. So now what I want you to do is to identify the top 3 places that you need to focus on and where you need to be implementing your message, right? So you can use maybe Facebook is one, YouTube, and maybe you want to go to Instagram. Maybe you want to work on LinkedIn, for example, and YouTube. Maybe you want to just work on podcasts. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. So what action steps do you need to take when we're thinking about implementing their message? Do you still need to do some research? Do you know your dream client's pain? So this is really helpful for us if we can get some clarity on that. I mean, only you know where you are. So what commitment will you make with your marketing? Are you going to be in each of those places every single day? Are you going to just be on one of them each day and rotate them? So this is something that we have to decide. We have to be absolutely committed. So you want to create a calendar right? We were talking about the 12-month calendar. Someone is going to win that, but you want to be able to have a content calendar so you know what it is your plan is. So you have more time to do other things. You know, some people talk a lot about what inspires them, you know, whether or not they want to be on Facebook one day, whether they want to do a video the next. But the thing is that I love that these people are only on 1 or 2 platforms. And that does make it very easy. So in a way, what they can do is they can just be all over one platform, and you can decide to do that. Just really just master your message on one platform. So you have to decide, do you still need to do some research? Do you know what platform you're going to be on? So what I recommend when we're talking about trying to be more visible, you know, which means that you're going to be spreading your message out in a couple of different platforms, I recommend a 90-day plan. So that's more than, or that's a little less than the 12-month marketing plan, but it's that minimum that you need. So start with 90 days, and best is 1 year. So you have to be committed to showing up every single day. Remember the analogy of you have the cure for cancer. You've got to be there every day, and don't get stuck in your head over this. Let me check something here. Yeah, Priscilla says that she gets stuck in her head all the time. I know, I get it. And Mark says, yeah, he deals with visibility fear. Okay, yeah. And Paul was asking a question here. Paul says, how many platforms? Well, okay, so we already said 2 to 3. So you want to be on, Paul asks, how many platforms should we be on every day? And I suggest 2. Because it gets to be pretty overwhelming. And honestly, if you are brand new, hear this really clear. If you are brand new, just one. And that's because what we want to do is we want to be able to really master our messaging. We want to be able to build our tribe in one place. And once you're able to actually master your message, you feel like you've got your engine rolling, so to speak, you can start on another platform, and I want you to repurpose your content. So let's say that you started out on Instagram, for example, and you have all of these posts. Go back and look at the ones where you got a lot more reaction. Of course, Instagram is hashtag driven, but you can look at some of those and see where you got a lot more reaction, maybe more comments, for example, and then just take it and go and put it on Facebook, maybe in Facebook groups or something, right? So you can start building from there. But always remember, you're going to, especially on Facebook, if you're going to use your timeline, because by their terms of service, you can't really use your timeline for business per se. Talking about your business is one thing. It's a whole other thing. But nobody wants to be friends with someone and that's all they talk about is their business, right? I mean, you might be really on fire and super excited about your business, but still, just refrain from doing that and really just try to post more about your personal life here and there. You know, maybe you finally got your laundry done. You know, maybe you got to go for a walk, maybe talking about your morning routine, talking about you just bought a violin, you know, different things like this. So we want to be a human first with our marketing. This is really important for us so that we can really work that know, like, and trust factor. So in saying that, realizing that Facebook takes a little time, unless you're really interested in actually carrying on a conversation and doing the reach out technique. But the thing is that we have to really understand that every single person out there that is your dream client is a person first. They're a human being. And they need to really be able to be treated that way. They're going to connect with you on that level. So you don't always want to be talking about work, you know, whatever it is. So just be mindful of that. Let's see. Okay, so we were talking about, ask yourself this question. Why is it important for you to refine your messaging? I like this question so much. And the answer is because you're going to be attracting leads to you. These people need you. These people need your solution. So why is it important for you to do this kind of work, to refine your messaging? Because you've got the cure for cancer, right? You've got something that someone really needs. So I want you to be able to think about these questions and really do the work. Really start to think about how you can start to refine your message, and you will be able to attract more people to you. And then tomorrow, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about actually converting. So we're going to talk about the sales process. And I'm actually going to be talking you all the way through. So it's going to be a lot of really deep content. We're going to talk about objections and how you're going to structure your actual sales call. So this is obviously for someone who is a service-oriented type business, someone who does maybe one-on-one work, for example. So you want to be here on tomorrow's webinar because we are going to be, excuse me, diving into how to actually convert and make sales. So remember, we are going to be announcing the winner of the 2 products tomorrow. So come with your notes, come with your pencil, and watch all the way to the end. All right. So this is Sharon Koenig. I will see you tomorrow. I'm out.